Hello, welcome in. It's the PHNX Cardinals podcast live from the 2024 NFL Combine. I'm Johnny Venerable. He's Bo Brack, the playmaker. Brittan Golden. Be sure to become a diehard. Go PHNX.com. A huge sale on the website. 30% off everything. Ooh. These guys are on sale for you today with the exclusives here from Indianapolis. Bo, how are we feeling?
We're feeling great. We're feeling a lot better. It's nice to be on this side of things when you're reviewing a report card instead of on the other, because I'm usually on that side. And when I receive poor grades like the Arizona Cardinals did, I got a stern talking to. And I think we're going to give the Cards a stern talking to, even though they've improved. They are going the right direction.
Boy.
Yeah, I know.
Can't believe
I'm just carrying water for the team, Brittan.
God, you can say they improved, but I mean, you went from an F to a D.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, D's get degrees, I guess, if you stay at the same university, but they don't travel well.
We're going to break down the entire NFLPA grades here, 2.0 that just came out earlier today, but we're not going to make anybody wait any longer. Off the top here, NFL insider Benjamin Allbright going to join the show. I'm looking at him right now. He's hopping on, breaking news left and right. He's been incredibly active on social media like he always is. He came on this very show last year and told us, no, the Cardinals are not going to take Will Anderson Jr. They're not going to take Jalen Carter. They're actually going to trade down. That was 2 months before the deal got done with the Cardinals trading down, subsequently drafting Paris Johnson Jr. in the process. So welcome our friend Benjamin Allbright to the program. How are we living, man?
It's good to be back, man.
Let's get Benjamin up and running here. There
we go. Good to be back.
There he is. Yeah, doing his great show over in Denver, just a few feet from us, and joining us with the tremendous insight. We're not going to dive too deep into the mock draft, but you are going to drop another one right after the combine, right? Isn't that tradition?
I usually do that. The whole if I had to guess today, top 5 thing, just to kind of keep it fun. I don't want to do a full mock draft to give it all away because as soon as I do those things, then all the other mock drafts change. Not to I don't want to sound too arrogant, but they kind of do. Like you'll notice Jaden Daniels is going 2 everywhere now, right?
Right. Yeah.
2 days ago, everybody was laughing at me for it. Now he's going 2 everywhere, right? I think I try to do the top 5. I do one full mock draft every year. The Wednesday before, so I'll turn it in the Tuesday night before the draft starts. That'll be the full one.
The way we operate on this show for the top 3 picks is ABH, anybody but Marvin Harrison Jr., ABM, whatever you want to call it. Does it feel like there is significant momentum for, obviously the Bears are going to take Caleb. We know the Commanders are going to go quarterback. The Patriots are the ultimate wild card. But in all actuality, are they really? Like, depending on who's running that organization now, quarterback or trade down feels like the only 2 choices.
I think it's trade down. I think they're going with a veteran option. I'm not sure which veteran option that is yet. I know they made some calls, maybe seeing if Russ would play on a vet minimum kind of thing. I don't know. I don't know if they're going to pursue Kirk Cousins or anything like that. I don't have any intel on that. But the vibe I got from talking to people around that was they were kind of looking at the veteran option there and to stockpile the war chest. It's Elliott Wolf's first year running this. And if he's anything like Ron Wolf, you're going to see a situation where he trades back, stockpile a bunch of picks and start rolling that forward to build the team the way they want to do it. And you can tell there's a different culture there. If you watched him talk at his press, there's a completely different culture there in New England right now. So I would not be surprised to see New England trade out of 3, and I think the Chargers want to trade out of 5 as well. And I think if you're moving into those spots, if you're coming up for a quarterback, right?
Yeah.
I mean, what else you trading up for? What else you get up those assets for?
Yeah, it's very reminiscent of where Monty Ossenfort and this Arizona Cardinals organization is, and that seems like it's the blueprint to kickstart a rebuild, right? I mean, it's just you want your fastest way back to relevancy, back to maybe contending for a playoff spot. That's the path, it seems like.
Well, yeah, especially if you're a new regime. If you're a new regime, trade back, stockpile because if you're doing it later on in your regime, you're doing it for the next guy, right? And who wants to make the next guy look like a genius? So, if you're early on, you have that 1-2 year window right there at the beginning to trade down, stockpile as much as you can, and then do that. And I thought Arizona kind of did it brilliantly last year. You trade back. We're gonna stockpile everything, and now we'll figure out where our roster's at. We kind of see where the holes are. We got a grace year in that first year. Everybody gets kind of that grace year, and so you go from there. And I thought. I thought they did a good job, and I think they're positioned to really plug some holes this year and be perhaps a lot more competitive. I thought they were a competitive team, that more so than more people expected last year, but be more competitive and turn those into wins. You know, when you're doing a rebuild, it's usually a 4-year process, right? Lose big, lose small, win big, right? And so, you want to move to that lose small, win small stage, as quick as possible.
Johnny, sorry, let me ask you this. I don't attribute it too much to like prospect fatigue or mock draft fatigue, where people wanted to kind of get away from what we've been seeing so consistently, and you've stayed consistent as far as Marvin Harrison at 4. But when you look at it as far as NFL decision makers, and that all signs kind of point to, either trading down would be their best option or finding their next franchise quarterback. Is it naive to think that the Patriots would be somebody arrogant enough? Like, is the people like Wolf taking over? They wouldn't kind of err on the side of arrogance, unfortunately, and take a guy like Marvin Harrison Jr., right?
I mean, anything's possible. I would say that seems improbable based on, the histories and the methodologies of the places that both Mayo and, Wolf came up in. So that it doesn't seem – it seems to me like, based on those kinds of things, that you're probably looking at something where you trade back and they're going to stockpile picks along both lines. You're going to you can build it inside out, and that's what they do. And if you look at the Packers and the way they used to do things, the Packers would always go out there and get guys that had played offensive tackle, and then they'd move them all over the line. They had tackles playing guard, playing center. That's their methodology. So I think if you're looking at what New England's likely to do based on the schools that those guys came up with, you're looking at those guys to trade back, draft a bunch of tackles, try to put the 5 best guys in an offensive line together, and then build around that.
Do you feel like the Cardinals, I mean, we have a pretty well sourced, they love Marvin Harrison Jr., but they would prefer to go tackle if he wasn't available. Like, he does feel like the exception for them. Like, Malik Neighbors, it doesn't feel like is an option for them. As of today, do you believe Marvin Harrison Jr. is the number 1 player on their board?
I do. I believe that.
Yeah.
I do believe that tackle's the backup plan if the Patriots were to do that, or somebody were to trade up in front of them for Marvin Harrison Jr., which, again, I don't feel is likely, but again, anything is possible. I think that, I do believe that the tackle situation is they're kind of number 2. But I'll say this is also a deep class for tackles. And so, you could pick one later on in the first or early in the second and get somebody who's starting caliber player there to go with a stud on the outside like a Marvin Harrison Jr., and then you really kind of, you double dipped and you got the offense where you need it, and then John Gannon can really start to turn his eyes to the defense and getting that where he wants to go.
Let me pick your brain with this. Hypothetically, if the Patriots were to go with a Marvin Harrison Jr., you would feel like they would automatically think that veteran quarterback has got to be the move if you're going to make that pick at number 3. Right, because obviously if you're not going quarterback at the number 3 pick where you're struggling right now in New England, you obviously have been talking to teams with one of these veteran quarterbacks that you're thinking this is a for sure thing that we're going to go after if we're going to pursue Marvin Harrison at number 3.
Right, and I think that hand will be tipped anyway, because if you're the Patriots, free agency comes before the draft, right? Yeah. So you're going to see that hand get tipped anyway, whether that's, and I'm again using hypotheticals here, with a Russ Wilson or a Kirk Cousins, but we'll know. Well, New England will tip their hand ahead of time. If they don't quite get a quarterback, then we know they're drafting a quarterback.
Right. Let me ask you this. We'll put you on the spot here. Your most likely team to trade up right now, not maybe what you've sourced, but like your gut feeling, because there's a lot of smoke around Minnesota right now. Would you feel like they're candidate number 1?
If they don't re-sign Kirk Cousins, absolutely. In fact, I would say that they are the most likely team to trade to 3 if they do not re-sign Kirk Cousins. After that, I think you look at it. I mean, there are teams out there that I think could be interested. The Giants, don't sleep on them. Although I think they can sit where they are and kind of have one of the big 4 kind of fall in their lap. Atlanta is a team that you could look at. Although, again, I know they've got irons in the fire on Justin Fields, so we'll kind of see how that shakes out. People have been saying the Broncos, but the Broncos don't have any ammo. I mean, you have to mortgage the future again, and you already did that with Russell Wilson, and then you traded a first and a second for Sean Payton. I mean, are you really going to gut the thing even further? Look where the roster is right now. Right. The pick. So it doesn't make a lot of sense. Plus, George Payton seemed to kind of indicate that didn't seem like that was going to be a realistic possibility. maybe the Raiders as a sneaky team to kind of keep your eye on. But I think those are the big teams as far as that goes.
And that's a long way to go, right? Yep. Especially with that quarterback tax. We talked to Daniel Jeremiah during his availability last week. He's just using the trade chart, but that's the baseline, right? I mean, what are you anticipating?
Right, that's the minimum. That's the thing. Everybody looks at the trade chart. Well, it only cost us this. Right. Like, no, bro. That's the minimum. There's a tax if there's good quarterbacks available, that kind of stuff. Look at what, for instance, San Francisco did to get up for Trey Lance. If you're going to move up from 12 to 3, you got to beat that deal. That's last year's deal. That's last year's price. We live in a new world now.
Right. Yeah.
So, you kind of got to look at that as a, and I like to kind of triangulate. There's about 3 charts out there I think everybody pays attention to. You obviously got the Jimmy Johnson one everybody knows about, the Harvard Sports Analytics Collective, HSAC chart that's out there, and there's another charts out there. And I think if you kind of triangulate those, you can get a good kind of positional value in terms of the points, and then you can kind of figure out what the tax is from there.
Are you surprised, like, the movement or lack thereof? I know we're about 2 weeks away from free agency, but it does very much feel like Mike Evans going nowhere, Justin Jefferson going nowhere, maybe T. Higgins going nowhere. Is there any kind of smoke around any of these guys, or do you feel like it could be a relatively quiet free agency for the guys that maybe were perceived to be on the fringe that aren't? Because we know Fields is getting moved, Russell Wilson's getting moved. Is there any kind of mojo or juice with some guys that maybe we're not talking about enough?
I think the running back market's going to be interesting this year because you got some teams that can pay, and I wouldn't mind seeing a team like Houston or Chicago spending on a Jacobs or a Barkley. But as far as the rest of this stuff goes, the best thing to happen for teams wanting to keep guys at home is the salary cap bump that came up. Getting all the COVID money back and all that kind of stuff. It was about $12 million beyond what teams thought it was going to be, and so now you've got extra money. You're like, well, we can't afford to pay these guys to keep them, and so I think that may put a damper on free agency in terms of the excitement of who all is available out there because teams are able to keep more of their guys.
What's that pool look like realistically in your opinion? I mean, who are the guys that from behind the scenes are talent evaluators in this league that view as, because sometimes free agency can be often fool's gold, right? You go and throw dollars at a position to try to fill a hole, and it's players that other teams are willing to let hit the open market, where we're seeing guys who are close but not close enough that they can just slap a tag on and retain. Like, who realistically could help, especially a Cardinals team that needs so much talent across the roster? Like, who could be somebody that we could see make their way to the Cards this offseason?
Well, if Kansas City doesn't get something done with L'Jarius Sneed, I think that's the one you got to kind of eyeball, right? That would be a great help there on that defense.
So tag, right, and then
they've got the tag,
deal.
but I don't know. They're leveraging that.
Right.
They got to get a deal done with Chris Jones as well. We'll see. And I know Sneed wants a bag, so it'll be interesting to see if Kansas City can make that work. There's a few guys out there. I think you got to look along the offensive line and see what exactly hits.
Yeah.
And then Gannon's going to want to get that defense going. He wants to get the offense set and turn his eyes to the defense. It's the same thing they did in Philadelphia. That's why that first year, when he was the defensive coordinator, and I'll tell you guys a little story here behind the scenes. John told, they told him, he said, look, don't worry about the defense. I'll coach them up. Get the offense set, get them going, and I'll just coach what I got here, and we'll worry about that later.
Yeah.
And that's why that first year he was in Philly, the defense didn't look as good, until the second year.
Then they started addressing it. They needed to develop Hurts, right?
And then he was like, get everything you need to get the quarterback and that going. I'll just coach what we got, and then we'll worry about the defense second. I'll take the hit on that, whatever. And outwardly everybody's like, this guy's a bum, he can't coach defense. And I'm like, man, you guys don't know what's going on behind the scenes. So just a little bit going on there. But as far as the rest of it goes, I mean, there's guys out there. I think on the defensive side of the ball, you'll see two or three decent signings there. I think on the offensive side, the one or two. I don't think you're going to be like sitting there all in on wave one, but the Cardinals will be active in free agency.
What do you make of the Fields market right now? As we sit today, I would have assumed it would have been done, especially like you consider Eberflus and Poles are basically announcing it to the media yesterday. If it's not Fields, it's going to be somebody else. And they said they have a sense of urgency, and we're sitting here and they're meeting with Caleb Williams as we speak, and poor Justin Fields is kind of left out to dry.
Yeah, I mean, Justin knows what's going on. Everybody knows. We're all doing the PR game where everybody knows what's happening, but we're not saying it.
Right.
The Bears are drafting Caleb Williams, right?
Yeah.
Come on. So it's one of those things where it's funny, the PR game we play with these kinds of things sometimes.
You were very emphatic on Twitter like 2 weeks ago, and people were like, "Well, how do you know? You're not from Chicago, and you're being so emphatic about the point."
You're not from Chicago. Bro, do you guys not know telephones exist?
Yeah.
like, do you understand that the coaches move from city to city and telephones exist?
Yeah.
It's interesting to see that stuff all the time. Well, he only covers the Broncos and all this. And I'm like, I live in Denver. I cover the league, man. Like, The fax machines are a thing of the past. We got computer. The internet is on computers now.
Yeah. Send a text message immediately.
Right. Yeah. It's ridiculous.
It's like, Ben, name 3 Chicago suburbs right now if you want to be able to.
And here's the thing: I used to live in Chicago, so that was like from '84 to '88, I lived in Chicago.
I could give you 3 suburbs.
You have a telegram from Matt Eberflus.
Carrier pigeon is on the way. That's the thing. I mean, look, the market for Fields, it depends on how you look at it. I mean, are there a couple of teams that are interested? Yeah, I don't think it's quite. I mean, I think you're talking about 3 or 4 teams. Atlanta kind of seems to be the leader right now based on some things I've heard. We'll see how that shakes out. I think Pittsburgh inquired. I don't think they're really in on that. But again, teams can get back in on stuff. But as it sits right now in real time, I don't think they're in on that. New England has kind of sniffed around that a little bit. I don't, people talked about the Raiders. I don't think, from what I heard, I don't think they're in at all.
Yeah.
And I think that the market there, in terms of what you're going to get back for him, I mean, maybe a couple of 3s, maybe a 2 and some other picks, like a 2, 5, and 6, something like that. I don't think you're going to get much more than that. I don't think you're going to get the Alex Smith package for him. I mean, you're talking about a quarterback who's 10-28 as a starter in his career. And at some point, I mean, you do the whole QB wins thing or not a stat, right?
Yeah.
But at some point, you don't win enough games. It's you. At some point, you're not able to overcome what the deficiencies are. You're not good enough to do that. It's you. And so that's the thing. I mean, you talk about a guy who has record sack percentage, record fumble percentage. I like Justin Fields as an athlete. It's fun, exciting to watch the highlight clips. But when you watch the low light clips, you're like, oh God. It's just it's one of those things. Like, people keep asking if he's going to come to Denver, and I'm like, why would Sean Payton pay $50 million to get Russell Wilson to go get diet Russell Wilson? Like, I mean, this is not a thing.
Yeah, no, and I see that too. The athleticism with Justin Fields is through the roof, but when it comes to sitting in the pocket, reading the defense, when you're under pressure, the 2-minute drills and stuff like that, that's where you see the deficiencies in certain situations.
I hate to like dog on a guy like this, but I mean, he's like, his processor.
It's the right show for you.
Well, you talk about an internal clock, and the dude's got a sundial back there. I mean, like, it takes forever for him to like survey the field, and I'm just like, it's maddening that he can't get the processor going.
That's what this show has been about, just because Chicago is a big hurdle that stood in front of the Arizona Cardinals and what they truly want, and that's Marvin Harrison Jr., at least what this program wants. But you've got the cult of Justin Fields out there saying they're going to stick with Fields, they're going to get a haul, and then they're going to take Marvin Harrison. You're like, that's the most far-fetched thing possible. It really is strange. So we'll come on this show, and it seems like we're crushing the guy. He's electric, right? He's got he's fun to watch, and he's
a starting quarterback for somebody.
Exactly, but you take all the variables that play into the hands of the Chicago Bears, they're going with Caleb Williams. I mean, it's that simple. So with all that being said, I know we got a little bit off the draft talk, but what is the ultimate path to Marvin Harrison Jr. landing at 4?
It's 1 and 2 quarterbacks, where it's Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, and then the third pick, either somebody coming up. If somebody trades up, boom, he's in your lap.
It's over.
Right. If New England does not sign a quarterback in free agency, that puts it. Then put it in pen.
Don't you feel like still too, if let's say they went out and signed Kirk Cousins, although why would Kirk Cousins go there? Like, with the state of the roster.
I'm not opposed to that move.
I think it would be.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to that move,
especially with the new regime, right? You have a new regime, you have a new head coach, you have a new GM. You bring in a veteran quarterback who's had success in the league, had a lot of success really, and you bring him in. Now you have a staple.
Yeah.
Now you can find a way to build.
With what though? There's nothing else there. Okay.
The long term is where you miss it.
Well, that's the thing. You can trade back at that point, and then you can get your quarterback in subsequent years while you've got Kirk Cousins to get you through the next 3 years and go from there.
You get 2-3 good years out of Kirk Cousins, and you can find somebody later.
But we wouldn't know if they're trading back until probably closer to the draft. Like, I want to be able to sit here in March and say we're good to go, but the only opportunity for that would appear to be if a Minnesota or an Atlanta or an Las Vegas came up to 3 unequivocally, because then we definitely would know.
Yeah, I mean, if a quarterback needy team comes up to 3, then you know right away. The question is when a trade like that gets executed.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that would wait till draft day, but it's certainly not going to happen today.
Right.
generally, with those kinds of trades, if you're coming up to about 2, 3, or 4, generally those trades get done in mid to late March. So, around 2-3 weeks from now, we'll start to maybe hopefully get an inkling on that.
Let me follow up on something because I'm with you. I think Jaden Daniels is the second best quarterback. I think he's going to go second. I think Cliff Kingsbury is the exact kind of quarterback he wants with the Commanders. Is there momentum for J.J. McCarthy to overtake Drake May as QB3 in this draft?
I think they're all in the same tier. I think Caleb Williams is on a tier above them, and then I think you've got Jaden Daniels. I think fans and media don't really have McCarthy there, but I do believe the league, or a lot of league guys do. Not necessarily all of them. Everybody has a differing opinion, right? The eye of the beholder. But I do believe that there are teams out there that have J.J. McCarthy as the second best quarterback in this draft. I've talked to people who think that he's going to be drafted in the top 5, top 10, no problem. So, and I know a lot of people are projecting him right now to the Broncos at 12, when 3 weeks ago we couldn't even buy J.J. McCarthy into the first round. So it's funny. Like, draft stock is not a real thing. What it is media catching up to the league.
Yeah.
Right? And so that's it's kind of interesting to watch some of these things. I put out because I put out that thing about McCarthy, league being a lot higher on McCarthy and lower on Nixon Penix back when end of January, beginning of February, whatever that was, whenever the national championship was, and it was funny to watch and go back and read the comments now where people are telling you that Penix is going to be the first quarterback taken and J.J. McCarthy's a day 3 guy, and I'm like, it's going to be real funny when Spencer Rattler overtakes Nixon Penix and gets taken in the second round. He's the guy with the most upward momentum right now.
Well, especially following that performance in the bowl. So, I mean, he was easily the best quarterback out there during that whole week, so.
Yeah. I don't want to mess with your process, Benjamin, because I do look forward to it the Wednesday before first round of draft on Thursday with your full mock draft. But to get down the draft board to 27, those damn Texans kept on winning football games and just plummeting the stock of that draft pick. But what do you look like, especially when you start to talk about the philosophies, of Amani Ossenfort and just having your league sources? Where do you think the Cardinals would go with that 27th overall pick? Would they continue to emphasize premium positions there at 27, tackle potentially, edge, corner? What do you think?
You got to remember the first round you get the 5th-year option.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's why the premium position thing gets talked about so much. You don't have that with second rounders on. So I do believe that they will do that and emphasize premium positions. Who knows if they're even picking there? They may move up. That you've got the ammunition to kind of be flexible there. I'm just saying they got the ammunition to be flexible. That's all I know.
Yeah.
As far as that goes, I know that they want to continue to address the offensive line. I know they want to get the receiver. I know they want to address the offensive line. I know those are priorities. So, I would not be surprised to see some combination of wide receiver and offensive tackle. If somebody like a Mims, who I think on raw talent is probably either the best or second best tackle in this class. However, his injury history is troubling. Reminds you a little of Juwan James. It's like, is this guy even going to play? And so that's the question. If you believe that he is going to play at the NFL level and he's just kind of coasting through college to get the bag in the pros, then okay. But you got to kind of find that out. That's what scouting is about. It's getting to know the person. Everybody can throw on the tape and know who the top 50 guys are. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's about getting to know the person. And what motivates that guy? What makes him tick? Is this a guy who's in this to make money to go start a clothing line or rap career or ice cream shop or whatever? Or is this somebody who is in this and committed to this while he's doing this, and this is going to be his life, eat, breathe football? Yeah. And so that's when we talk about football guys, or guys with football versus the basketball mentality and all that kind of stuff. I think that's what it's going to take. So I short story long, I think that wide receiver and offensive line, I think those are probably the first 2 picks. If you ask me to parlay it right now, put money down, that's what I put money on.
It's the smart move. We know DJ Humphrey's not going to play this year. They're looking for a left tackle.
Yep.
I'll put you on the spot right now. We'll get you out of here. First defender drafted.
Oh, that's such a good question. I think there's probably an edge rusher. I know the corner from the MAC that everybody loves right now.
Quinn Young?
I know a lot of people love him, and he's kind of creeping up. He's just so good. I mean, he can do anything.
Is it big on what he runs this week?
I think some of the testing will help him out a little bit. You want to make sure that he's not just dominating future insurance salesmen down there in the MAC. I think it's part of it. No offense to. I make that joke every year.
He competed in Mobile. I think he answered a lot of questions.
Oh, he did. I love watching him down there. And
Byron Murphy the second.
I don't think he's going to be the first one. Murphy will be in the top 5 or 6 guys taken. I think you're probably looking at edge rusher. Whether that's Chop, whether that's Turner, Verse.
Latu.
I like him a lot, but the short arms, the injury history might drive him a little. Yeah, I mean,
there's just not enough clarity. Whereas the offense, the talent is
the bet right now in Vegas is will a defensive player go in the top 10.
Mm-hmm.
That's the bet in Vegas right now. So that's that's kind of the thing, and I don't know that. I don't know. First, my if I had to put me on the spot, Chop is probably the first one, but I'm not 100 on that. So
you think this could be like that 21 draft though, where it was so offensive heavy, and you had a ton of quarterbacks, obviously, but like where you had to wait till J.C. Horn went off the board, and then you had Parsons go off, and then we're like, oh, these guys are good. Is it?
I think you're going to see it in waves. I think your quarterback thirst is obviously always going to be a thing, and then of course you got those three big receivers right there that are going to be a thing. Some of these offensive tackles, and I think some of the guys that are projected right now to go a little higher are going to go a little lower. Like Alt, I don't think he's going to go as high as everybody keeps mocking him at 5 or whatever. I really don't think the Chargers are going to take him, and I don't think he's going to go as high as people think he's going to go specifically. Reminds a lot of people more of like Solder McGlinchey than he does somebody who's like a road grader, got that dog in him, So I think that's somebody who goes a little bit lower. Latham's a guy who go a little higher, but there's such a glut of some of these positions. You're going to see that. The interesting thing for me is where does Brock Bowers go? Because you got an all-world pass-catching weapon there, but taking a tight end of the top 10 is actually is a detriment in some ways to your salary cap alignment because he already vaults into the top half of the league in terms of tight end salaries. So it's going to be interesting to see if somebody likes him and tries to trade back and play the game a little bit, catch him falling in their lap.
Anything surrounding Hollywood Brown going into free agency? I mean, he just hemorrhaged money at the end of the season. Dealt with injuries, but when Kyler came back and people thought he was going to take off, he went the opposite direction. Is his market materialized at all one way or the other? I
mean, you'll get there. Yeah. The thing about wide receivers is we talk about the running back position being devalued, but secretly the wide receiver position has a bit in the league. And you think about it like this. It used to be teams played in the eye. You had 2 wide receivers out there that were getting all the reps, and so you just didn't have guys, as many of them. Now your teams are in 4 or 5 wide, 3, 4, 5 wide as base. You got so many receivers with so many reps coming into the league that you can find guys who are a lot more polished than they used to be in the 4th, 5th, 6th round than you used to. And if you could take that and turn that into something, then you find something. So as much as I'm sitting here talking about you guys need to take Harrison here at 4, there's also value to waiting on receiver a lot of time. Now, if it's a special talent like that, obviously you jump all over it. But there's also a way to, and some teams have started doing this, constructing your receiver room is the place where you save the money, right? Because you're getting later guys and you're just churning and burning them through, let them hit free agency, and I got the next guy to plug and play.
When's Russ getting released?
Next week or 2.
Not a trade, but probably released?
I can't see anybody trading for that contract.
So he's just going to be out in Denver.
Yeah, it'll be out. The question is whether or not they're going to do a post-June 1 designation or not, whether they eat the whole thing at once or whether they chop it up over 2 years, and that's really the question.
Wow.
So DeAndre Hopkins' decision, right?
Yeah,
they decided to absorb it.
I think they're going to chop it up over 2 years just because I can't see Sean Payton eating that in 1 year and barely being able to field a team. The Broncos have the 3rd least draft capital and the 5th worst cap situation, and then you add that into the mix.
Brutal, but you'll get through it. Who do you think the quarterback's going to be? I mean, it's impossible to tell. Are they going to be in on these Bo Nix, J.J. McCarthy, Michael Penix kind of guys?
I don't think they're in on Penix. I think McCarthy or Nix could be a guy that they'd look at. Michael Pratt a little bit later is another guy with some connections to Sean Payton. That'd be a guy they'd look at. But if you ask me to lay money on it, I'm saying like Jimmy G or Sam Darnold. Sure. Cheap stopgap option until they can just get through this year and get everything into place they want to get. But we'll see. Sean Payton doesn't seem like the kind of guy to just mortgage a year either.
He's not our stopgap. Benjamin Allbright, NFL insider, so generous with his time. We hope to see you soon, my guy.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime, guys.
Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
Benjamin.
Doesn't get better than that. 25 minutes unfiltered on exactly what's going on here in Indianapolis that you're not going to get
across
anywhere else, gentlemen.
His team grade or his grade is it's perfect.
It's a blue
perfect
chip.
Score.
It's a blue chip.
That's right.
That's right.
It's
absolutely.
Who's bottom of the league? Was it the Bengals?
The Chiefs.
The Chiefs were 30. The
Bengals were low.
Yeah.
We're gonna get to those grades here in a second. But Ace is like my guy Ben. It's our friends at BetMGM. Bet 5. Get 150 instantly. Right now, you can sign up with BetMGM if you're a new customer. Bet just $5 on any standard odds price. You're going to get 150 in bonus bets. Get this, Bo and Brittan, regardless of the outcome of your wager. So if you're sprinkling, you're dabbling on a little Diamondbacks spring training ball and your bet hits, well, you get your winnings plus 150. If it doesn't hit, you get 150 of bonus bets instantly that you can go dabble, wager on anything else, maybe some draft prospects, some odds coming out quickly and in a hurry. But again, you want to make sure you dabble with our friends at BetMGM, and you want to make sure PHNX Cardinals sent you using that bonus code PHNX. Check out the show notes for full details, and now listen to my dear friend, Mr. Damon, talk about it in the disclaimer.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Available in the U.S. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 New York. Call 1-800-327-5050 Massachusetts. 21 plus to wager. Please gamble responsibly. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP Arizona. 1-800-BETS-OFF Iowa. 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help Michigan. 1-800-981-0023 Puerto Rico in partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. Visit BetMGM.com for terms. This promotional offer is not available in New York, Nevada, Ontario, or Puerto Rico.
With a like, also you're going to like what you're going to see when you hit the Gila River Resorts and Casinos. We're hitting March here. Just before you know it, you're going to want to get out to the many resorts, part of Gila River Resorts and Casinos, get poolside, get yourself in the casino, playing table games, running those slots, betting on March Madness. It's endless what you can find as far as the entertainment here at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. We did our watch parties at the Wild Horse Pass Resort. It was
tremendous.
Unbelievable. Check out for yourself. See what the next level is all about. Head to Gila River Resorts and Casinos. You do you at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Visit playgila.com for more details.
It's been a busy day. Scrambling, running around, talking to people, vetting these prospects. But in between all of that, gentlemen, you had an opportunity to attend a little conference, a little seminar, a little meeting, if you will, where the NFL...
It's like a parent-teacher for NFL reporters.
And those can only mean bad things in the Venerable household, at least.
I don't go to the parent-teacher conferences.
No?
No, I'm
you just
not
get
doing that.
to your wife?
Yeah.
All right.
I send that. That
I'd love to see
bored.
Johnny in his parent-teacher conference. How are you? I mean, are you as aggressive as you are on air?
My kids don't do anything wrong.
My kids are elite. There's no way you could say anything bad about
they're
them.
the smartest in the class. These kids over here, they're stupid. Mine are the best. Get them on their own individual grading plan. But I am not as staunchly protected of my NFL team as I am my kids.
Yeah.
And I saw these grades today, Bo. I wasn't surprised.
Yeah.
There's some good, and obviously there's some bad.
This is grading on a curve. But also, you got to take into consideration the direction of the organization, where it's coming from. Last year, when they did the inaugural NFLPA team report cards, the Arizona Cardinals, they bottomed out. Just when you thought they could get low, they got lower.
Yeah.
They had F-minuses, a couple of them on their report card. And nobody thought it was possible. The F- remains a grade of the NFLPA. Did the Arizona Cardinals receive any of those? Well, let's take a look at what they received as far as the NFLPA report cards. They did improve. So they went from 30. That's just my opinion. That's just one humble reporter's opinion. They're nutritionists, dietitians. They added this part to the grades. They got a C, 28th. The locker room, it's an F. It's 31st out of 32. You go there, it's noticeable. It doesn't look like or resemble something that would be a big league locker room or even a top college locker room. It's not even close. Training room, C-. Training staff, B. Weight room, C-, which is up from, I believe, an F- in a safety hazard. So that's good. That's a step in the right direction. Strengths coaches, they got a C+, which is 26. Team travel, C+ as well. That's 14th. You got your head coach. This is where it really starts to factor in. Jonathan Gannon, in his first season as Arizona Cardinals head coach, polled by the players, 90% of the players gave Jonathan Gannon high scores and an A-. He's 15th in the league because, you know, a lot of coaches around the league, they have the respect of their players, and then you see kind of the scale starts to tip the other way, half of the league. But Jonathan Gannon in the top half of the league at an A-. And then ownership, haven't seen much improvement. Ownership, this is a new addition in the second annual team report card. Michael Bidwill received an F, 30th out of 32 owners. And I will say this, that the criteria is solely based on what players, Brittan, what they feel if that owner is going to invest in improving the franchise. Is he willing to do that? And the Arizona Cardinals, their roster this year and the players that participate in this survey, they have no confidence Michael Bidwill is going to go make the necessary investments to improve the facilities.
Well, I mean, if you're going to look at it, it's shown. I mean, look, locker room. Yeah, we redid the locker room in 2015 when I was there, and essentially all we did was put new carpet and newer wood lockers in there.
Yeah.
Right? And when you look around the league and you look at some of these other facilities, and we talked about it yesterday when we were, getting ready for the grades to come out, some of these locker rooms are amazing. These kids are coming from college, and they're coming from these locker rooms that are state-of-the-art. Yes, not everybody's going to have that in the NFL, but you've got to put your players in something where they are proud of where they go to work every day, right? When they come into work, when I look at this wood locker with absolutely nothing, it's just bland. There's no chairs in the middle. I either sit in my locker or I go to the cafeteria to sit down. Right? There's locker rooms in this NFL where you've got players' lounges. I mean, when I was in Chicago, they had a players' lounge, Xboxes, PlayStations, pool table, ping pong table, TVs, where big chairs where guys could go relax in between meetings, in between stuff like that. The reason why they have an F in that category is because, guys do not believe that their owner is going to sink money to make this workplace fun for them to be, for a place to relax, to get away. I understand you're there to work. You're there to do a job. That's understandable. But let me come somewhere where I would like to be, where I feel
like an NFL player.
Where I feel like I'm a top-tier football player in the NFL, in the league.
When you see their locker room, it's jarring for the first time how behind the eight ball they have been. They have chosen to be. Like, I talked to our producer, Damon Dog, about this. I've talked to Shane Diefenbach about this. There are Pac-12 football locker rooms that are vastly superior, collegiate. And I know they have a lot of college money. You throw that around for recruiting, but the Cardinals have to set a new standard. And, frankly, I love these NFLPA grades. Fair or not, it is publicly, this is what it's doing, publicly shaming owners to make change. You are under the microscope now. You're under the microscope of the players and their families. And then Roger Goodell sees this. And if 2 or 3 seasons go by, it's like, hey, Michael Bidwill, why haven't you opted to do this? Your players are saying this is a problem. Because we were talking about this off air, producer Damon and I. It's like, they're going to get to a point where is everybody going to be elite like the Vikings and the Dolphins? Probably not. But they're going to reach a baseline standard of respectability, right? Where you can go proudly and showcase each part of your facility and how you treat players. It's very sad in this Fortune 50 company, the number one sporting event in America easily, that we haven't reached that point. And it takes these surveys to do so. But make no mistake, these are improving and they're going to get better. So excuse me if I don't want to go on Twitter today and say, Michael Bidwill, sell the team X, Y, and Z. Everybody knows Michael Bidwill's current reputation. Yeah. You don't need me or this show to do a dog and pony show. Go look at the fake outrage on Twitter by some people saying, look at this, be objective, be credible. Everybody knows the situation with the Cardinals. Right. Here's what you should be excited about, in my opinion, if you're a Cardinal fan. The head coach is aces. You got the head coaching right, and the people who are involved, a la Gannon, who said yesterday to our faces, Monty Ossenford and I have gone to Michael Bidwill, and he has been overwhelmingly accommodating for the upgrades that we want to make. That's all you can ask for. Yeah. You're never going to take a D student and make them an A student in a semester. It's a gradual progression. So, kiss my ass to the people why aren't the Cardinals in the top 5? Come on, turn your brain on. They were 31st last year. They're in the low 20s now. They're not a bottom 5 team. They will continue to improve.
Right. And I'm not trying to make excuses here. And I think that Michael Bidwill is a far departure from his father, Bill Bidwill, as far as how he runs the organization. But at the same time, nobody was mentoring him or showing him how to become, he said all the right things as far as, I want to take this team to new heights, to compete for a championship. And early on, they reach a Super Bowl, right? They leave the field on offense, leading the Pittsburgh Steelers, and unfortunately couldn't close that out. But, they get the new stadium with public funding, and it reinvigorates and finally gets football going here in the Valley of the Sun. But at the same time, I think that he wasn't equipped with the right tools necessary to really know what that means to be, it's one thing to field a competitive team, but also to stay up and keep up with the Joneses as far as what's necessary off the field.
Yeah.
And to be around, I'm sure, his father, where there wasn't an emphasis on spending money to make money. And it's hopefully hopefully it's a harsh lesh. Hopefully it's a hard lesh, because if it's, hey, you get dragged because of the inaugural NFL team grades where you're getting unprecedented F minuses in several failing grades, and you see it, get incrementally better, it needs to continue to trend that direction. Like they have to invest. Now there was, in the full report that the players felt like this was the underlying issue with the improvements, right? And improvements across the board. The underlying issue here was the facility itself. Ratings of the size of the locker room, training room, weight room rank among the lowest in the league, with players comparing it to more like an office building, like they got Michael Scott as their owner instead, than a premier athletic training facility. And that's so important here, Johnny, because I'm not going to go there and carry water for the organization, but at the same time,
you are.
This is not relative to you and me and Brittan out here, eating fast food or whatever, or what's getting picked up by the company or not. These are the best football players in the universe.
Yeah.
And you got to, it's not how it's relative to you and me out here. It's how it's relative to the other 31 football teams. And it's not up to the standards yet. But from what we've heard from JG, what we've heard from as far as just people around the organization and what these grades tell us is Michael Bidwill has been receptive to change and getting better, and that's just a good sign.
I want to address one of these comments, not to call somebody out, but Michael Evans saying, no excuses, Johnny, billion-dollar team, give me a break. I agree with that, but here's the difference. Michael Bidwill, and I believe this to my core, has had yes men surround him for upwards of 20, 25 plus years. Well, a lot of those people have been removed. He's got external people. He's an external general manager for the first time in his tenure. Remember that. Rod Graves and Steve Keim were internal guys. And then on top of it, now he has the players pointing the finger back at him publicly. That's a bad look. He doesn't want that. He doesn't want to be reminded. He is going to be reminded until it changes every offseason. Like these PA grades aren't going away. These NFLPA grades,
you can't hide from these.
No, absolutely not.
This has been a roaring success for NFLPA.
It's been fantastic. They should have done this 10 years ago. They probably have infinitely better facilities and locker rooms right now. So say what you want about it. I'm not telling you to be the biggest Michael Bidwill fan, but you can't sit here and tell me like they're not going to have to change because of this. Of course they are. It's going to make the Cardinals and their organization better. Like, are they going to cut corners in other places? I hope not. It sounds like they're doing, hopefully, a better job treating their employees, and that was its own issue in and of itself that wasn't even with regard to the players. But this franchise has been rightfully so dragged through the mud for 18 to 24 months. The healing has begun, both from a football standpoint, BG, and an administrative standpoint. So, like, you can be critical, yes, but, like, to blindly say, like, oh, it's never going to get better until Bidwill sells the team, like, I just don't buy that. We're not in the business of selling hope on this podcast. I'm looking at the facts, and the fact of the matter is they have much better people involved, in charge than they did 18 months ago.
Oh, agreed. And just the fact of seeing we went from 31st to 27th, is that what you said? Mm-hmm. I mean, there's change that's happening.
Yeah.
Right? So there's obviously something that's going on, and now there's talks of they're going to redo the locker room, which, you hope that that's more than talk and it's going to actually happen. But all you can ask for is, like you said, is progression. As long as we're not staying in the same spot or going downhill, I think we're in a good spot. Now, there's people, like you said, like the comment, they want to see change immediately. Nothing happens immediately in life. Mm. And if it does, it's short-lived. Mm. So, it's just like the old saying, you got to work for what you got or for what you want. In that situation, it's the same way in that, yes, it's a lot of money that he has that he could, expedite the process. But as long as you're seeing a little bit of change, it's going to give guys in the free agent market and guys that want to come to Arizona more than just, I have to go to Arizona. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they are very limited, especially with the space that they have right now. I think as far as how the NFL is grown and expanded over the last 2 to 3 decades and how long they've been in that facility in Tempe. I know that they moved out like daily employees, non-football operation people, and I'm sure that has to do with what J.C. Treader, the NFLPA president, said today, that they are going to renovate the locker room and make some changes there. But I still think that they're going to be handcuffed by that space.
Yeah.
It is an office building.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
The building, the Cardinals practice facility is an office building.
Yeah.
I mean, when you really look out of it outside, the locker room is not big. Right. It's not very big. And then you've got a walkway.
It's laughably small.
Yeah. A walkway separates the training room and the weight room. The weight room is not big, right? I mean, I played in New York. I played in Chicago. I played in Jacksonville for a little bit. The weight rooms were significantly bigger. They were significantly better. The locker rooms were significantly bigger and better. Like, it just comes to the point where, is that space going to be is it too small? Yes, probably. Are you going to have to extend that building if you want to, make facilities better?
Right.
You're going to have to sink money into this to make it better.
I'm going to tell you right now, if the Austin Ford and Gannon era is successful, we're going to be able to look back and say they were instrumental in, yes, putting a winner on the field. Mm-hmm. But what they're able to do, hopefully, behind the scenes, and to reintroduce Michael Bidwill into what it takes to be a functioning NFL franchise in the modern era, that means infinitely more.
Right.
Like, hopefully this sets a new standard for the Arizona Cardinals. And listen, I'm not making excuses, just like you weren't. A lot of teams are going through this. The Chargers got embarrassed today. The Patriots have fallen off, right? The Bengals, who were just in a Super Bowl. I think the NFL is saying, listen, guys, your salary cap is $250 million. Everybody, we've never been richer as owners. You guys are getting fat checks. The players are making a ton of money. You cannot have this dog and pony show with some of the ways you treat your players and the operations and the facilities like that. That's it. The time is up with that. You go overseas to Europe, how some of these football clubs operate. I'm talking soccer, like it's night and day. Mm-hmm. And that's the biggest sport, overseas. So Cardinals, NFL, they need to play catch up. This is a process, as people said in the chat. I think most people, especially in our fan base here, PHNX Cardinal diehards, understand, like, yeah, this is embarrassing when it comes out, but it's a necessary evil to invoke change.
Yep.
Would you rather these grades not come out and then for the Bidwill family to hide behind a little bit of a facade? I remember Bill Bidwill locking out Don Coryell from his office in the late 70s. Like, those are things that happen, unfortunately. Like, those things would never obviously fly today, but the exposure that these teams have now, it's a blessing and a curse. It gives them the most money possible, but also the accountability piece has never been higher. And so use your voice, your fandom. Like, I want people to go to the games next year and have it be 100% at State Farm Stadium Cardinal Red. Now, is that likely next year? Probably not. But I do think this is a step in the right direction for them to reinvest in their franchise.
Yeah, and it's a piece of the puzzle. It's a very big puzzle as far as the NFL landscape goes and people's fandom, right? But it's also not part and parcel with it's going to, if you fix all this stuff, that you're going to be a successful team, or that if you don't, that you're going to be a successful team. One of the worst ranked teams on here, it's the Kansas City Chiefs. The Kansas City Chiefs, the Cincinnati Bengals, who have had the most successful run in their franchise's history, like those organizations can win in spite of ownership and the lack of, movement on their behalf in keeping the facilities in the culture and the organization where it should be.
Yeah.
And always improving and staying up to NFL standards. But the key thing that they have now, especially in Kansas City, is the right leadership as far as the football operations. That's what you need in place to overcome crummy ownership. And the Arizona Cardinals, from what we've seen in 1 year under Monty Ossenfort and Jonathan Gannon, is that right leadership to potentially overcome this? Because this is proof, it's not a quick fix. And if it ever truly will get up to par enough to where the NFL standards where they're in the top half of the league, where I'm skeptical if that could even still happen. So, but the Arizona Cardinals will have the ability to put out what truly means something to NFL fans out there, and should be the number one thing, is winning football games.
Yeah. I think, BG, we could be entering a new era, and I don't want to jinx it, knock on wood here, a new influx of young talent coupled with a new way of treating and operating with our players at the facility.
Oh, and agreed. And like you said, head coach, GM, the moves they made last year, everything is on the uptick right now, which is all you want to see. You've got guys in place that can get the job done, even in a rebuild year, right? It looked really bad at the beginning, but, you get halfway through the season, you get your starting quarterback back, stuff starts to click, you finish the season on a high note. Yes, you lost the last game of the year. You should have won it, but there was positives ending the year, and I think that trickles into the ownership part with these grades. I think that starts to trickle into where now you want to, as an owner, because like you said, you're on blast now.
Right.
You can't hide from the facts anymore. I think as an owner, you want to continue to move forward yourself in facility-wise to help accommodate these coaches, this GM has come in and started to build this program back up. You're starting to get more guys that want to come in here, and it's a place where they want to come in and succeed.
I've heard this before. Like, if you, I heard this, and it's not from me, okay? Like, we'll just call him somebody else. And that if you have failing grades on your report card or your midterms, right? I've heard this elsewhere, that you can't get it all. You can't just go from an F or an F minus in this case all the way to passing grades. Like, you have to chip away at that. You do, from what I've heard. You have to continue, work, do your homework, turn it in on time.
Did you see my college grades?
I allegedly might know what you're talking about. I mean, you have to get high scores on tests. It's not going to take, if you just go past your final, you're going to go from an F to an A. Like, it's going to take, it's baby steps. Yeah. It's baby steps.
Matt Ishbia's presence in the Valley only helps the Cardinals indirectly or directly with what he's doing with the Suns.
I wish that was true, but
with the facility piece,
I don't know.
You're not into the facility upgrades that they're doing?
Absolutely, I am.
You don't think that lights a fire under Michael Bidwill?
I think it. There's a fire that has to light some type of fire, knowing that now. I mean, the Suns used to be the laughing. When I was here playing ball, you could get courtside seats to Suns games for $250.
Well, and Bidwill
that was 10 years of futility. That was bad.
It's just a bad situation. But now you're starting to look at the Suns have done all this work facility-wise. They're doing it now as a Cardinals organization. You're starting to be the bottom tier.
You could look down on a Sarver if you were Michael Bidwill.
Now, you can't do that anymore.
No. When Ishbia first got to town, and his first official move as owner is he went out there and he aggressively got KD. Unbelievable, right? And we had a show shortly after that, didn't we?
Yeah.
About, is that going to light a fire under Michael Bidwill's ass? Is it going to light a fire under ownership around the Valley? And having seen Ishbia be in his spot for over a year now, I don't know if that's necessarily true.
Well, I don't know if he's a great basketball savant. Like, I don't know if he can help build a championship team.
No. This is not an indictment on Ishbia. Ishbia is passing and flying colors and exceeding my expectations. He just went on Pat McAfee, and I'm sitting there and I'm standing up and I'm applauding the guy.
Yeah.
Applauding the guy. Absolutely. He's giving, he's making the Arizona Phoenix Suns games accessible to all the fans, right? As far as the TV product. He's investing in the Suns as far as, their facilities. He's investing into the Mercury because he said this, you got to spend money to make money. I don't think that's rubbing off on the Diamondbacks and the Cardinals, unfortunately. But the Cardinals are running their own race here, and they're running in the race with 31 other NFL teams that they have to keep up with to some extent. And look, they're trending in the right direction.
I respectfully disagree. The Diamondbacks situation's in and of itself different, and you had the GM recently come out and make some the owner make some stupid ass comments. I mean, Ishbia bought the team last year and traded for Kevin Durant. What was that, in February? Ossenfort and Gannon arrived about the same time, and Michael Bidwill's made some changes the last 12 months. So, I'm not carrying water here, but I would say...
get a $100 million training facility for the Mercury.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. Bidwill's not going to do that. I mean,
right.
He's you're not going to get a wrecking ball tomorrow at that
JG
office.
and Monty Ossenfort are the driving force behind the change.
100%.
And also public shame with stuff like this, like the team grades. I love if it could be Ishbia across the board, like you would sign up and you want every team owned by a guy like Matt Ishbia. Like they might not win the NBA championship, but he's going to try everything that he can to put them in a position to do so.
It looks like a destination where free agents want to come to now.
Yeah.
That's the main issue that you're missing in Arizona. Arizona, outside of the city, the location where you're at, all the amenities, if you're just looking at it from a football standpoint, free agents aren't looking at these facilities saying, this is somewhere I want to go.
It's a top 5 growing economic city in America, that being Phoenix, the greater Valley area, and they need to utilize that and maximize it. You can maximize your ability to get cheap tickets right now with our friends at Game Time. Before we talk a little draft prospects, let's talk a little Suns action maybe. We got postseason right around the corner. Of course, we talked about spring training games that are available. Hell, the money you're going to be saving with PHNX Day, spring training tickets might be on us. Using that bonus code PHNX, $20 off your first purchase with our friends at Game Time. It's the only ticketing app of PHNX and, by the way, the Venerable household. I don't use anything else because there's no need. Those egregious fees, additional charges that you find with all these other service ticketing prices, applications, hoopla, they don't exist with Game Time. The best prices I've ever seen. Plus, they've got these flash deals that are up to the minute. It gets your blood pumping. It's like, I can't believe I'm going to get these tickets at this price. But you got to use Game Time. You got to get the app downloaded today. Snag tickets without stress. They encourage waiting to the last minute. Hell, I was at a Suns game recently, and it was like tickets when I entered the building, they were still available. Third quarter, second quarter. So, again, don't miss out on your chance to save big with Game Time. Download the Game Time app today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Again, bonus code PHNX, $20 off.
Takes a couple bucks to go get yourself some Arizona Adventure Lottery tickets. This is incredible promotion from Arizona Lottery, Arizona Adventure. 3 ways to play and win big. One way, you can just get one of the 3 iconic landscape lottery tickets featuring Picacho Peak, Monument Valley, Camelback Mountain. These tickets, you can win prizes up to $50,000. You can also go check in at the geolocated adventures at 10 destinations across the state, from Flagstaff to Yuma. You can go check in and win money just by checking in at azadventure.com. For more details, directions, check out azadventure.com and check in. Enter tickets online for chance, and this is your 3rd opportunity to win $1 million of cash and, of course, Arizona travel prizes. Go to Arizona Lottery. It's not just about playing games. It's about just winning prizes and money and also giving back to the state and the communities that reside in that state. Visit azadventure.com for more information and how you can take adventure and chance to win $1 million in Arizona travel prizes.
I had an opportunity, gentlemen, to speak with a number of highly rated defensive linemen this morning here at the NFL Draft. We rallied this morning. The defensive linemen bright and early at 8 a.m. They hit the podiums. We were here. PHNX Cardinals was prepared and ready to go. And a couple of our favorites, of course, Jer'zhan, Johnny Newton. What stood out to you guys from this morning's conversation with the front 7?
Well, a lot of it was just how they carried themselves, right? You've got a million people. You got a ton of reporters standing in front of you asking questions that range from actually good questions to some of them that aren't so good. It's just hard to answer, you know? I think for the most part, these guys, especially the top picks we were looking at, the Byron Murphys, guys like, they handled themselves well. They handled themselves professionally, and that's the big thing for me coming out. I like to see guys coming out of college that are coming into the pros that know how to handle themselves. They handle themselves professionally like a pro, coming in, you know, in a process that is just exhausting that they have to go through. Some of these guys are up at 5 a.m. for no reason to get poked and prodded, and then you come out here and you have a well-rounded conversation with some people that you've never met before in your life. So, I mean, we can't judge a guy's football game by how he talks, but, you know, it gives you the sense of who's a football guy, right? JG and Monty both spoke about it yesterday, about the culture they're trying to build in the Cardinals organization. And we heard a lot of guys in the D-line and the linebacker position today that you could –
Let's get this video to 100-plus likes, no doubt about it. But the only place there was more beef than in that interview room was on Johnny's plate last night at St. Elmo's. Guy bought a 14-ounce steak and ate about 2 ounces of it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you're just spreading misinformation, which is what I won't stand for on this show. You're lying about my steak.
But as far
okay, we'll give you 6 ounces.
No, listen, these 2 jabronis had about 8 ounces, and they're sitting across from me, and they're like, oh, you didn't finish your steak? Yeah, I had like probably conservatively about 9 to 10 ounces of the 14.
Conservatively.
Left on your plate.
The waiter looked at me at one point and was like, you are doing a tremendous job, young man. And I said, you know what? I'm only one man.
You don't even believe that statement.
I cleaned my plate for the most part. There was a lot of excess fat. Not to call out, the people at St. Elmo, but listen, at the end of the day, it was a tremendous dinner, which I booked the reservations for it. These guys didn't have anything to do with it, and now they're besmirching my ability to eat lean, succulent meats. I'm not into that.
My man. First off, and we'll get back to the D-line conversation here, but first off, the first thing that happens when Johnny gets his plate of steak is he cuts it up into a million pieces like he's going to serve it to a 4-year-old.
I have 2 kids. I cut up their food a lot. It's a creature of habit. That's my excuse. Go on.
And then he mixes it around. He eats a couple bites of his potatoes, and he says, I'm full.
Number 1, I don't talk like that. Number 2, I don't scarf my food down. I like to enjoy it. I like to savor it. I didn't know we were in any
Did
kind
you
of
not
a hurry.
enjoy your 8-ounce filet? Because I love mine.
I enjoyed my 8-ounce filet and the mashed potatoes on top of it, plus the 4 shrimps we had.
I had lobster bisque on top of it. I had bread.
We had lobster bisque, too. And bread.
It was an excessive amount of food, which I enjoyed. But again, it's not like these guys are like picking up the tab here. Like, I paid for my own plate. I can decide how much I'm going to eat or not eat.
When we take an Uber back to the Airbnb, just light whatever you spent on dinner on fire. Just let it out the window of the Uber, because that's what you did in that great restaurant.
How dare you?
JV-sized bites.
My only friend here is Johnny Newton of the University of Illinois, because he and I locked eyes this morning, and we talked for a little bit at the podium. And I said, Johnny, from one Johnny to another, how fucking great are the Arizona Cardinals? And this is what he said.
I love the Cardinals. It was a pretty cool meeting with those guys. We had great interactions, broke down some film, good and bad, and I just loved how they approached me. We had a good talk, and we'll see what the future holds.
So we got tipped off recently. The Cardinals really like Jer'zhan Johnny Newton, like a lot. I think he would be the pick unequivocally if he made it to 27. But with the kind of performance, I think he's going to have this offseason, because he's not participating, unfortunately, gentlemen, this weekend at the Combine due to a nagging injury. I think he's going to be taken before 27. Now, could they trade up? Absolutely. But he's the exact kind of player that the Cardinals need that they don't have. He compared himself watching tape to, I believe, a Warren Sapp at one point. I mean, his ability to penetrate an offensive line.
That big, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the game he likes. He's been one of my favorite players, Bo, since we started doing this. I watched a lot of Illini tape this fall. He just the ability to stop the run, plus you're mixing in like 7-8 sacks a season. If he's in striking distance, I will be shocked if the Cardinals don't try to make a move.
They're in such an odd space, BG, where they pick fourth. Feels like they're going to go, if the opportunity arises, Marvin Harrison Jr. But then they're all the way down the board at 27. And they got a long way to go, and this is an interesting defensive class, especially with the defensive line, where you got guys that are projected in the late, second round, day 2 guys, and guys like Jer'zhan, who could probably, if a team got, aggressive, could take him in the teens. So it's interesting for the Cardinals, but my biggest takeaway, as I got off on a tangent about Johnny and his eating habits, is that I like the depth of this class. I do. Like, if they don't get a Jer'zhan Newton, there are probably 5 other guys that I really like for the Arizona Cardinals to start to rebuild that defensive line.
No, agreed. There's a deep class in a lot of different positions, right? We were talking with Benjamin Allbright earlier. He was talking, the offensive tackle position is deep, right? And that's another little issue they could go. But this defensive line, we heard a lot of these guys speak today. It's a deep class. It's a very deep class, and there's going to be guys that are very capable of changing a defensive line and for the better down at pick 27 as well. So, and you can say, like, there still could be options where you trade up to get a guy, like Newton, to get a guy. I mean, I don't think like a Byron Murphy guy will be on the board long enough for you to trade. You'd have to trade up higher for that. But I mean, it's a deep class. There's going to be plenty of guys that can come in that can make an immediate impact on that defensive line.
You mentioned Byron Murphy. I think he has a chance to be one of, if not the first defender selected. I've got him at DT1, slightly above Jer'zhan Newton, and he talked about some comps to his program and, frankly, why he likes to be as aggressive as he is.
Oh, yes, sir. I look up to him. I watch AD a lot, and also guys like Ed Oliver, Kenny Clark, guys like that, Payne for the Commanders. I try to model my game after them guys. I just like the way they play, how disruptive it is, and also their violence.
So, full context, these players are walking around, and they look like sweatshirts, right? Like with their letters and their numbers on them to identify.
Stuff.
Yeah. The way he is built, being Texas defensive lineman.
Byron Murphy?
Byron Murphy is built physically. It's like suctioned onto him. He is so imposing physically. And you're going to see that when he works out over the next couple days. Like, I think we're going to be exiting out, and a lot of people have already kind of reported this, but exiting out of this weekend where he is in contention to be the first defender selected, because suppose he wants to run like sub 4.7, 4.6, the reps he's going to do, the acceleration BG, the footwork, 3-cone drill. I mean, it's exactly what you're looking for if you're a team that's just like, I'm starting from scratch. I need a cornerstone player. Maybe my favorite tackle is gone. It's too rich for a wide receiver, 4 or 5. I think if that's a player that the Cardinals could ever get close to, you would have to consider moving up for him.
I mean, just looking at, like you said, that long sleeve shirt, sweater he had on today, it looked like he was wearing an Under Armour shirt.
That's what it looked like, yeah.
Hey, the man, his arms massive. He's like, just the way he's built. He's not your normal interior defensive lineman that you're looking at. It's not somebody you're saying, oh yeah, he's a bigger guy. The dude is built like he's a skill player.
Yes.
But at 200, however, I can't even. He's massive.
Yeah. Yeah,
and he looks the part.
Him, his teammate from Texas, T'Vondre Sweat, another one of those guys that I think when I was talking about, I think 5, and he might even go deeper than that. We heard from Chris Jenkins of the national champion Michigan Wolverines.
Yeah, super impressive.
Unbelievably impressive. His dad, his uncle, Colin Jenkins, played in the league. So he's got that background, played under Jim Harbaugh with the best defensive line in the league that was up against Texas, right?
Yeah.
Playing big boy football in those 2 college football playoff teams. And then, you've got the Darius Robinsons that's versatile, right? He's just a football player. He's adaptive, and he's explosive. And all these guys, they'll fit in Jonathan Gannon and Nick Rollis' defense one way or the other. But it comes down to the Arizona Cardinals. They do need to add bigger bodies to the interior of this defensive line. And I think all these guys fit those profiles. I did reach out to a couple of these guys. Do we have any of the clips as far as the big defensive linemen we talked to, and as far as if they talk to the Cards? Let's just go through a couple of those and hear from these guys and what they went through with. I'm sorry. Oh yeah. Okay. So how about we talked about Darius Robinson. There was another Senior Bowl standout at a Baylor. Gabe Hall. I caught up with him today in Indy.
Yeah, I've met with him multiple times. Yeah.
How's that interview process gone?
It was really good. It was really funny. I say that it was just good people. I had some laughs and stuff like that. Just really good people.
Head coach Jonathan Gannon.
I haven't met him.
Okay. Where do you anticipate you want to play? Where do you feel most comfortable?
I'm more comfortable at the 3 technique just because I've had the most reps there, but I would also like to play different positions to get more comfortable than I am at 3 technique.
Yeah, impressive, as was. I had a chance to talk to Braylon Trice, who has met with the Cardinals out of Washington, is from Arizona. He talked to me a little bit, gentlemen, on players he models his game after, somebody who I believe very much on the Cardinals' big board.
Yeah, I love watching Micah. I love watching Max out there. They're like the speed guys that I aspire to be like, if not better one day. Their explosiveness off the line is crazy. Their moves are good. They're just naturally like that. So everybody wants to get their speed game and their pass rush moves locked in the league. And, I hope to one day be that locked in as they are.
Trice from Washington is he's an edge guy, and we'll get more into the edge class because we have more insight as far as who the Cardinals have talked to and who you can kind of look at, potentially down the first round draft board or day 2 guys. But we'll finish up with the defensive linemen. Texas A&M, who I know the Cardinals have scouted during the regular season and also out at the Senior Bowl, caught up with McKinley Jackson, who was a 2-time captain for the Aggies there, his interactions with the Cards.
Senior Bowl, but I think I got a formal with him soon also. So, I'm excited for just meeting everybody, get the feel for the staff, head coaches, GMs.
So there, short and sweet, but McKinley Jackson is a guy that's kind of flown under the radar with some of the bigger names of this defensive line class. But one thing we know, the Cardinals, they are not going to sleep on rebuilding this defensive line in the 2024 offseason and the 2024 draft.
Yeah, they're doing their homework on everybody. I do think we talked about this off air, gentlemen. The pass rusher group, I do not feel like is all-worldly special. I think it's solid. I think, if you're going to get a player, you're going to get probably somebody on par with another B.J. Ojulari, maybe a little bit better. I do think that the defensive line group is better than the pass rush group, if that makes sense. I think those first couple 3 to 4 guys, a Robinson, Byron Murphy, obviously a Jer'zhan Newton, if you can secure one of them, that's great. Chris Jenkins is another guy, but after that, I really do believe their best course of action, they're not going to force it, is to go a combination of wide receiver, offensive tackle, and defensive tackle. And I think if you're able to do that, if you're Jonathan Gannon and Amani Ossenford, if you can say, we got Marvin Harrison Jr. and we got, the tackle from Washington and we got a defensive tackle that we're fired up about out of the SEC or wherever they may be, you can go into the third round just saying, we're going to let the board follow us. Maybe we take another developmental corner. Maybe we go guard or center. But those positions right now, tackle and receiver, and you heard Allbright, and this is the common theme of this week. I tweeted this out. This is a generational, potentially historic tackle receiver class. Like, there will be Pro Bowlers, potential Hall of Famers that come out of this class, all pros, and they're from everywhere, and they're available, right? And the Cardinals are going to have a chance at a couple premium of those guys. And then you can go back on pick 35 and just say, you know what? We desperately need a D tackle. Is there anybody close that we love in terms of grading? And they're going to pull the trigger on that, too, because as we're seeing, gentlemen, Justin Matabuke not making a free agency. Christian Wilkins, Miami's brass, just talked a little bit ago, 100 feet away from us. Sounds like he's not going to be available, right? Chris Jones is getting a new contract. Like, as much as we wanted them to go splurge on a defensive lineman, and they were prepared to do, you can't spend money on guys who aren't available. So your next best bet is to go out and develop your own guys.
Yeah, Leonard Williams, and then supplement, potentially like a Leonard Williams type.
Yeah.
And then, supplement it with two to three guys on the defensive line. So it's we got 7 super chats. Big time thank you to everybody chiming in today in the super chats. Let's get into those before we get into the edges. Damon, you wanna get on the mic and
yeah. So you guys can hear me all good?
We got you.
Cool. First super chat from Deuce, $2 says Monty plays 4D chess. We are not worthy. Thanks, JV.
Wow, thanks to me. That's
Monty's
great.
my guy. He called me by my
he
name
did
yesterday.
Both still hung up on about that. Hey, here's what I liked. Somebody, our buddy Jody Ayler, pointed this out on Twitter. Monty was wearing the same clothes this year at the Combine as last year. And he pointed that out, which I did not realize, which is hilarious.
When I worked with Jody, it was an annual tradition for us to keep tabs on what Keim, if Keim was going to copy the style to Cliff.
Yeah, it's like the little brother syndrome,
right,
where they wanted to be fancy and dress up. And Monty Ossenford, I genuinely believe this, is here to do a job,
right,
to try to build a football team. Not here to be seen, not here to hobnob, not here to trade for overpriced veterans, on their last legs. It's like this guy bleeds football developing players. They are so fortunate. I know people are like, let's sold on Gannon. What are they doing? They're always going to lose. No. You talk to people around the NFL. People we're around constantly. Ossenford and Gannon are highly thought of. You've got like the Jets, who are a laughingstock here, that were publicly shamed for not attending. So Robert Saleh and company, they're going to come and show up and talk like 3 days later. That just got reported before. You want to operate like that? That's like what the Cardinals would do like 18 months ago. So Ossenford, man, he Deuce, thank you for that super chat.
Right.
He is a killer, man. He and Dave Sears, they're about to go to work.
I'm sure there's a lot of credit that's due to Mrs. Ossenford. Like, I'm sure Monty, if he had his way, or he probably wouldn't even think about it. He'd show up in a burlap sack and he'd just answer the questions that he has to answer. And he'd be like, okay, am I done? Can I just go watch these prospects and prepare for this draft? That's the kind of guy you want. And he doesn't want to have to think about what my outfit is. Well, Keim was probably like, hey, Cliff, what are you wearing tomorrow? And Cliff was like, I'm wearing this jacket. He's like, yeah, I'm going to wear a cool jacket too. It's really cool.
I got tweed. What color tweed you got, Keim? More super checks if we could, Damon Dog.
Yeah, this is a good one from Jared Reese, $5. He says, we talked trading back from 27, but with 25-ish players with round 1 grades, any chance of moving up from 35 to get a tackle and Murphy/Newton on 5-year opt-out?
So those 3 firsts.
Options.
I love that idea. Brittan, I mean, the importance of having guys on cheap contracts for 5 years in comparison to 4 years. If there's somebody that's worth coming up for, going from 35 to 32, 31, I don't think you hesitate.
I don't either. If there's an opportunity where you can, and it's got to make sense though. It's not.
Can't force it.
Yeah, don't force the issue. But if there's an opportunity that makes sense to push that 35th pick into the first round, and get in the top 32 and get a guy like a Murphy or somebody, as well as an offensive tackle and your staple at Marvin Harrison, I think you have to go for because like you said, now you've got 3 guys that you're developing that can come in and immediately make an impact. But now you get them for 5 years instead of 4. I think, like I said, it's got to make sense. This is not something. Right. This is a hypothetical, very far-fetched what if. But if it's possible and if it makes sense, I think you have to kind of go ahead and take that lead.
I mean, of course, if anybody's going to say, hey, if you like 2 first-round picks, how about 3 first-round picks, yeah, you can sell me on that. But I think realistically, or what I would prefer, Brittan and Johnny, is if they had conviction in a player enough to go up from 27 and lock in 2 surefire guys in the first round. I think that's the play. Like, 3's nice. Like, you're playing the percentages there, right? Like, if you get 3 and 2 out of 3 pan out and are starting caliber and probably 4 is a star for you, like, that's great. But if you can get, like, you get Marv at 4, and then you're sitting there at 27, and somebody that you love is gone down a little bit, and you're in striking distance, and you can take some of your picks, all that draft capital that you've accumulated for this draft, and you turn it into getting that guy, I would take that over a third. But I don't think it's a bad idea. I mean, like if you're just like, hey, Bo, the Cardinals have 3 first-round picks at the end of this thing, I'm like, hell yeah.
Hell yeah. I would love an opening presser with 3 first-rounders for the Arizona Cardinals. Be a gift. Speaking of gifts, Damon Daw, let's get back to these super chats.
Another one from Deuce here, $2, says, we don't need another QB. We have Tune.
They're committed to Clayton Tune.
The Tune squad.
Yeah, absolutely. We talked to somebody last night close to the situation. Very, very impressed with Clayton Tune. Built of the.
They like the cut of his jib.
They do. The kind of moxie that you want, and somebody that, like, make no mistake, like Clayton Tune legitimately took one for the team this year against the Cleveland Browns. We joke he was sacrificed to Myles Garrett. he was the bridge from Dobbs to Kyler Murray that you had to go in. You took an L. And they respect him for it. He's got to get better, and we can report this. We've doubled and tripled down on this. They're not going to sign a Jacoby Brissett. They're not going to go out and get Gardner Minshew or a high-priced, big-name backup to back up Kyler Murray. They'll probably bring in another Driscoll X guy to compete with Tune. But I think the expectation is, like, Tune is right behind Kyler Murray. He's efficient. He knows the offense now in year 2. They didn't get their hands on him until rookie minicamp last year. So he's in the fold. He looks good. And hopefully he has a nice preseason. He ought to be able to do a little bit more with the Cardinals as they build out their roster.
It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see the development from year 1 to year 2 for Tune. And I think that's going to be the biggest question, is if he can be that number 2 guy.
Yeah.
Can he come in year 2? Can he take control in the preseason games? Can he show that he can be a quarterback that can come in, take control of the game, manage the game well, and get you through it?
More super chats.
Damon.
This one's from Dana Robinson, $5, said, did moving the admin side out of the facility create more room for these kind of changes, or is the Tempe facility just too outdated to make work?
Bo, you're there more than any of us. You can speak on that.
Yeah, I don't know if I think that they want to kind of separate, the football operations and the day-to-day as far as what Gannon and Awesome for and everything that they want to get done, and they want to maximize the space in that facility and also help that other side operate at its highest, level possible. So they moved it off-site, and I don't anticipate it returning. So, yeah, why not use the space and get bigger and grow? And, the locker room, we'll see what they do with that.
Here's my concern. When I've been in the locker room, and I'm not a tall man, as many of you know, it feels claustrophobic with the ceiling. And I don't know how you do – like, you can knock down walls and you can shine things up and bring in new equipment. They're probably going to do all that, which is great. They need to. But, like, elevating the ceiling and giving the players that are huge, massive men, like, more headroom and more space to move around, I think that's pretty imperative. Like, it felt very enclosed and claustrophobic when I've been in there surrounded by professional athletes.
Calais Campbell felt.
Right. Or, like, how do you think Trey McBride feels? Or, Paris Johnson Jr. walking around. It's just you want to have a sense of this is a nice, clean, large, state-of-the-art facility. And I tend to agree with a lot of the people in the chat. Like, that building is 35-plus years old. Like, until you just decide we're going to start from scratch, which, again, is asking a lot, especially with how expensive real estate is now, especially in the Valley, you're going to always run into limitations. But you have to at least try something.
I mean, they've got a lot of space. You can push it to, now that you have all those people out upstairs and they've got their own building, do you start using some of those upstairs offices as meeting rooms and then overtaking where the meeting rooms are, extending your weight room, making your weight room bigger, and push into that side of the building? I mean, I'm not an architect, but,
I like it. It works for me. I don't know if structurally if that's sound enough, but I still also think it'd be kind of funny to have, like, an office-style Arizona Cardinals flight plan where you got Bidwill playing the role of not Mike Bidwill.
Something would have something.
Something. World's best owner.
Yeah, he's just straightening it out.
Something tells me he would be reluctant to do that.
Yeah, probably wouldn't want to get on that. What else we got?
Another one from our guy Deuce here, a $5
Thanks,
super
Deuce.
chat.
Thank you so much,
Third one
Deuce.
of the day. And he says, I say give the players everything they want. Then if they lose, they have nobody to blame but themselves. These guys are too tough to be snowflakes.
Wow.
I mean, that's a way of handling it for sure. It's not going to happen, but I mean, it's another hypothetical situation.
I mean, there were plenty of facilities, to your point, Bo, earlier, around the NFL that are state of the art that teams can't win. I mean, you got to so many things have to fall into place for you to be able to host a Lombardi Trophy. You got to get the quarterback, head coach, GM. You have to have an owner that's stable. Scouting department's got to be on point. You got to have a lot of luck involved. But like these requests of players, I don't think are out of the ordinary. I feel like they're kind of just baseline human rights for your professional work environment. Like
relative to it.
Yeah,
especially where guys are coming from organizations that are the facilities are tremendously
at the collegiate level.
Yeah.
If you're leaving an SEC program or you're leaving a Big Ten program, you're going to a far superior.
Like what's
inferior.
What's PJ?
There's high schools in Texas that look better.
Yeah, what's Paris telling Marvin? He's like, hey, we're excited to have you.
Hopefully nothing.
Yeah.
Hopefully, don't say a GD thing. I don't want to see it. I don't want to know about it. I would just say, Marvin, you can't come to our facility right now. It's under construction.
Yeah.
Until you're drafted, you can't see it.
What else we got?
Next one from Pick and Spread says, 199 Super Chat says, as a college student, grades take time to improve.
Yes.
Agreed.
Facts.
Well said. Well said.
Well, let's go straight into the next one. We got No F's Given, 499.
Great name.
Said, it's easy to criticize an owner, but as Cardinals fans, let make a change happen by buying tickets easy to talk smack, but not contribute to our team.
There's a lot of truth there. Like I think a lot of people who claim to be fans of this team that follow this team also say, like, I'm not supporting them. I'm not buying any tickets. I'm going to rip them every time publicly. It's like it's in vogue to rip a team when they're not succeeding on the field with a winning product. And I will never tell you what to do with your money, but part of being a fan of a franchise is you stick with them through the lean years and hopefully and the championship years. But again, I think
you shouldn't root for ownership. You're never rooting for ownership. You're rooting for
the players and the people that are in that building.
Yeah.
And you also can be of the mindset that, hey, I love my team, but my team's flawed, and here are the ways that we need to improve.
You guys notice that little Anchorman? He put let instead of let's, and I just read it straight off.
Oh,
He
yeah.
could put anything there, and
Yeah.
I would have read it 100%. Last Super Chat here from Jonathan Fine. $5 says, did you all see Kyle Odegaard's shout out of PHNX and Johnny and Bo as one of the top Cardinal shows on air right now?
Oh, nice. Did not see that.
Thank you, Jonathan. We appreciate it. Brittan's doing a hell of a job. Shane and Damon working their asses off behind the scenes. Our entire team here in Indianapolis making it so we're able to go live every day and hopefully produce the kind of content you want to see.
As one of the top? Is that what he said?
Well, I think, the top.
A great compliment, but
we appreciate everybody here, and we appreciate, nobody questioning our credibility or our objectivity. Hopefully you guys know that we've got plenty of both of those. I'll tell you what else we have. We have an interview coming up with Matthew Berry of NBC Sports, but before we get to that, I do want to remind everybody there's still time. Become a diehard right now. We've been pumping content behind the scenes left and right in the PHNX Cardinals Discord. Right now, it's the perfect way. Chat up with the rest of the diehard community. We're going to be doing a live Q&A in just a couple days here, live from Indianapolis. Plus, again, behind-the-scenes content from, St. Elmo's last night, today, yesterday. If you want to see exactly what the Combine looks like, the good, the bad, and the ugly, you got to become a diehard. And then, in the meantime, pick up yourself a free hat and or shirt every single year. Not a one-off. Every year, you're a diehard. Plus, you get 100% of GoPHNX.com unlocked with the many workings of Gerald Bourguet, Craig Morgan, and more. And again, free shipping on the merchandise locker, which, by the way, is still running 30% off. There has never, I repeat, never been a better time to become a diehard. GoPHNX.com, just like our guy Gary Bear. If you send us a screen capture of your diehard membership, instant retweet from our friends, everybody here at PHNX Sports.
Absolutely. We got to catch up with Matthew Berry. Of course, if you grew up playing fantasy sports, if you just play fantasy sports, you know the name. Matthew Berry. He's probably on the Mount Rushmore of fantasy content creators, experts. We got to catch up with him, ask some Cardinals-specific questions. Kyler Murray, Trey McBride. Here's our interview with Matthew Berry, NBC Sports.
2024 NFL Combine, well, it continues on. Matthew Berry, NBC Sports, fantasy guru. We're talking a little Arizona Cardinals.
Sure.
Maybe some Trey McBride, who's the darling of this podcast. Tight end 1 next season? What are the odds, you think?
I have him as a top 5 guy. I actually interviewed Trey at the Super Bowl. We did our show, Fantasy Football Happy Hour from Radio Row, and I told him, I said, I have you 4. I have you 4 next year. I have Laporta, Kelsey, and Hawkinson ahead of you.
Gotcha.
What do you think? And he's just like, I'm going to beat that. So, I mean, I love the confidence. And obviously, here's the thing about Trey McBride, right? I'm a big believer targets are earned in the NFL. Mm-hmm. And obviously, the fact that he kept getting fed, that's a guy that was consistently getting open. He's clearly got a connection with Kyler. And so I think the sky's the limit for the kid. We gave him a statistical projection. He's like, I want over. And who knows if that happens, but I love the confidence. Yeah. And obviously, I think he'll be one of the first tight ends off the board in fantasy drafts next year.
Yeah, it was one of those things that showed up immediately when Kyler Murray returned, right? He had the big game against the Atlanta Falcons, kind of the coming out party. It broke an unbelievable record of futility with the Arizona Cardinals in the tight end position. Before that, there was nobody, right?
Yeah.
But, with Kyler Murray returning, what did you see at the end of the season? It seemed like he started to find his way, seeing the organization really kind of jump in on Kyler Murray and double down, triple down that he's their guy. What do you like about Kyler Murray in the second year in this offense?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think he's a very talented player. The Cardinals, towards the end there, were a top 10 offense.
Mm-hmm.
They were moving the ball. Kyler obviously is, I think, an underrated fantasy prospect. I think just because the Cardinals season overall didn't go the way it wanted to. He was coming off the injury, and he's sort of almost forgotten guy. But, again, he is somebody that, for his career, has averaged 20 fantasy points a game. Again, the ability with his legs, the ability to earn points, obviously, with his arm. I thought there was a lot of nice moments from Michael Wilson last year as well. So I think he's excited. I think he's exciting. I have to believe, you guys probably know better than I do, but I have to believe that the Cardinals are going to be one of the teams picking a wide receiver early. It's an unbelievable wide receiver draft. So whether it's Harrison, whether it's Neighbors, having a guy like that with Trey McBride, with Michael Wilson on the outside, assuming Hollywood leaves, all of a sudden that's a really interesting offense on a team that was able to run the ball effectively last year.
Well, let's talk a little Marvin Harrison Jr. We on this podcast are trying to will that into existence here.
The only question is whether the Patriots do that.
Yeah, but they haven't earned it. We've earned it. We're ready to go. McBride, K1, Michael Wilson. Feels like the Pats, we talk about this all the time, the Cardinals were last year, where it's you can take Will Anderson Jr., but you can trade down, build your roster for future years. If Marvin Harrison does land in Arizona, what do you think best case scenario is year one? Because we got other people telling us top 10 to 12 fantasy wide receiver. Is that too rich for you?
It's a little rich for me just because how good wide receiver is in fantasy football. Again, but and the other problem is the other challenge there is that I actually might buy that more if he goes to the Patriots. As insane as that sounds, because if he goes to the Patriots, if Marvin Harrison Jr. gets picked by the Patriots at 3, he's going to be nothing but a target funnel. Even though it'll be Mac Jones or whoever throwing the ball, the fact of the matter is he's going to get double-digit targets every single week. Whereas on the Cardinals, yes, he would be a focal point of the offense, but to your point, you've got Trey McBride, you've got Michael Wilson, you've got the human Dortch, Greg Dortch. We love him. Rondell Moore's still around, right? Exactly. You guys use the running back out of the, So my point is that even though it's a better passing situation, a better offense, he may not get nearly as much volume. Top 12 is a little rich for me. I think top 25 is probably, probably fair. I think that generally speaking, he's got that kind of talent. He's got the Jamar Chase type talent. So maybe top 20. I'd have to think about it. I haven't thought about where I would rank somebody. I sort of wait till they're landed. But,
for sure.
But there's no question
about it.
Yeah, fair enough.
Daydreaming.
Will it to the Cardinals? I get it. I think he's a generational prospect.
Yes.
Kyler's a very good quarterback. I think that would be a very exciting thing, both for the NFL and fantasy-wise, if Marvin Harrison Jr. will remember the Cardinals.
Yeah, and you talked about the running game, and it seemed to become the Cardinals' identity. Even with Kyler Murray coming back, James Conner was unbelievable, led the NFL as far as explosive runs, right? Runs over 20 yards this season. He's a guy that's approaching 29 years old. Seems like there's still some value, and he'd probably fly under the radar for most fantasy drafts next summer.
Yeah, assuming I assume he's going to be back with Arizona as well, right? It feels like that. So assuming that, and assuming they don't bring in any real competition, all due respect to sort of Mari DiMaccardo and some of the other guys. Assuming he was a sleeper for me last year. He made my preseason love list because I was just like, it's cheap volume. He's somebody that's going in the 5th, 6th, 7th rounds. Yeah. No one likes him because it's Arizona. We don't think they're going to be any good. And he's got this injury-prone tag. But the fact of the matter is that he's very productive when he stays healthy, and he's a true 3-down back. He doesn't come off the field. Now, his passing game usage last year wasn't what it was the year before, which was a little weird, But yeah, I mean, I think he is somebody who's as good around the goal line as any back in the NFL. He's tough as hell, and it's clear that they want a balanced offense. The thing that we have studied over the years in fantasy is that a mobile quarterback often opens up the run game. Yeah. A lot of time there was a lot of thought at some point that, you don't want a running back with a team that's got a mobile quarterback because there's a chance that they vulture at the goal line, they run it themselves. But actually, because you have to keep a linebacker spy on the quarterback, it often opens up stuff for the running game as well. And we saw that, I think with James and when Kyler came back, we saw, the year before as well. So
yeah, and Kyler doesn't have the ability to do QB sneaks. We've seen that. Like the tush push does not exist in this offense. So I always think it's going to lend itself to James Conner having a pretty robust goal line touch scenario, having an opportunity every year to have double-digit touchdowns.
100%.
I'll tell you a story from last night. We saw you at one of the many establishments here in Indianapolis, and one of the people we were with, it might have even been you, we saw Matthew Berry out and about, and we said, that's the dream right there. Here's a guy that did what he wanted to do. It was a passion play. He's thriving at the level so high that you got yourself into an Avengers movie. I mean, that's the dream right there, Matt Berry.
Yeah, I mean, it actually isn't even the dream because you couldn't dream of that, right? I was asking people are like, was this a bucket list moment? I'm like, no, I did not. Before I die, I'd like to be in the Avengers. Right. So it's not something that you ever contemplate as well. But it's fantasy football's been very, very good to me. It's brought me amazing opportunities. I met my wife through it. I had my family through it. But yes. And I also became the highest grossing actor of all time on a per movie basis due to my role in Avengers Endgame, because Joe Russo, the director of the Avengers, is a big fantasy football player, was a fan of mine. We got introduced through a mutual friend. We started texting, emailing, we had dinners, we played in a fantasy league together, and then after we've been friends for like 4 or 5 years, he said, hey, do you want to be in the movie? Because I got a role that I think you're perfect for. And it's just like, yeah.
Your skit with both Russo brothers drafting Avengers, a la fantasy football, it's content gold. Go search that out if you have not done so already.
It's on YouTube, and that was through the grace of Robert Downey Jr. It was actually his idea. I'm like, can we do some fun stuff? And he said, let's do an Avengers draft. So generous.
It's so generous with your time. We appreciate it. Matthew Berry, NBC Sports. Check it out now if you haven't already.
I was embarrassed to ask, who was 1-1 in that draft?
Oh, man. I think it was...
Was it Iron Man?
Downey's in the clip, too. I don't think so. I think Scarlet Witch might have been number 1.
Oh, like based on powers?
Yeah, that's why. That's how they did it. The squad that you wanted. Who would be your number 1, you think?
I mean, Iron Man started it all off.
Shut up. This is important.
How dare we venture outside of football?
I mentioned this to you last night, Johnny, at the bar, but like Matthew Berry lived out your dream.
He did. Mine would be a Star Wars movie, but yes, it's in the same vein. It's Star Wars adjacent.
Sports media to, big movie stars.
That's right. That's what I told him. So it was you. That's exactly what I told Barry.
We brought it up together. Yeah. If Jon Favreau sees this podcast and wants to put me in the Mandalorian, please. I'm not Matthew Berry, but we can work something out. I promise. You can put a helmet on me. I don't care. Nothing else to contribute?
No. But
there's nowhere to go from that. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
It's all right. All good. Matthew Berry's fantastic. Tight end number 1, Trey McBride here in Arizona. We'll take top 5 in the NFL next year. I would say that's a raging huge success for the Arizona Cardinals should that happen.
Massive success. Good, holdover from the previous regime. Trey McBride breaking out. Also, Kyler Murray being in a good spot. It was interesting what he said about Marvin Harrison Jr., where it would benefit, obviously, the Cardinals very much so to have a talent like Marvin Harrison Jr., but fantasy-wise, Marvin would see him maybe flourish in a Patriots team that has no playmakers, where the Cardinals would have an abundance.
I didn't want to yell that he was wrong in his face because he does this much better than I do.
Yeah.
I think that's incorrect. I will disagree with that. I think that number one, you're asking for. I mean, look at Devontae Adams, even in his older years playing for the Las Vegas Raiders. Somebody who coincidentally had him on his fantasy team was not very productive. Like, you are beholden a lot to your quarterback play, even if you're an elite level prospect, especially if you're playing in inclement weather, BG, in November, December, January in New England when you got rag-arm quarterbacks, Mac Jones and Bailey Zappi. I mean, are you playing Harrison at running back? Because otherwise it's going to be damn tough. You can only run so many screens with these guys, whereas you light the world on fire with K1 and his live arm in a dome on the West Coast. I'm sorry, that's the better option. I don't care.
I think more where he was going from is just the target aspect.
Maybe from a PPR.
If he goes to a New England type, like you said, he's going to be the only playmaker outside. He's going to be the one that commands a target. Now, do the targets succeed? Are they actually catches?
That's right.
That's another thing. That's another topic. But
ask Larry Fitzgerald how that went.
From a standpoint of he would be targeted twice as much as he will be, yes, because, you're coming to Arizona and you're going to have really, you got Trey McBride and James Conner in that situation anyway. So to say that Marvin Harrison would come out there and command 10 to 12 targets a game in Arizona, probably not likely on average. There will be games where he does get 10 to 12 targets, don't get me wrong, but if he went to New England, he's going to command 10 to 12 targets per game, and it won't be anything less, whether you've got a shit quarterback or not.
He should still command about 8 to 10 targets here.
Yes.
And I would take that quality over the quantity. And I sometimes lean in fantasy, because I'm a nerd,
nerd.
On the high-powered offenses and the opportunities that creates in itself over an offense that has the ability to go out there and be 3 and out. Like, I would much rather take maybe the second option on a high-powered offense instead of the first option on some piece of crap team that's going to be off the field.
In a perfect world, that's what you're saying. If I'm in Marvin's shoes, I would rather go to an Arizona right now who has their quarterback where, say I get 6 to 8 targets a game, right? I would rather get 6 to 8 targets where I can maybe come down with 6 to 8 receptions out of that, then go out to somewhere where you're getting 10 to 12 to 14 targets and you're getting 3 to 4 receptions out of it just because of the situation.
I think if you asked him behind closed doors, this is where he wants to be.
I agree.
Or the Chargers right behind with Harbaugh and Justin Herbert, someplace where he can immediately come in and have success. And again, I think we are on a freight train from hell with MHJ coming to the Valley, and this week's only re-solidifying that. And speaking of Marvin Harrison Jr., we're going to have a chance to connect with him, as will the rest of the media here in Indianapolis. He meets with the media. We got a glimpse of him today walking through the lobby. It's on Twitter, not our video. Somebody else grabbed it when we ran out there, and it wasn't great. I wanted to grab him
by the bathroom.
Yes, I couldn't. He hasn't used this restroom. I've got my eye on it right here. But nonetheless, Marvin will be meeting with the media 8 a.m. on Friday morning, and of course, this podcast will be bringing you live updates from the front row on Radio Row or, Super Bowl. No, Indianapolis. It's been a long week.
It's only Wednesday.
That's right. It's day 2. We've got so much more good content for you. Be sure to be subscribed here on PHNX Sports. Daily vlogs coming out. We've got full copies of the interviews with some of these top prospects. You're not going to find that anywhere else. Like the interviews with JG and Austin Ford, only available on this YouTube page. I checked right before. We've got the vlog coming out, which is an inside look at what's been going down here in Indianapolis with your 5 brethren here at PHNX Sports. And, of course, we have a banner show for you tomorrow. We got some friends from PFF that might be joining us, maybe some bigger surprises on the docket. Of course, we feel like a Justin Fields trade might be imminent. Right now on DraftKings, he's up to minus 300 to go to the Atlanta Falcons. So, Bo, there is so much going on, and it's only going on right here at PHNX Cardinals.
That's right. We have one more super chat before we get out of here.
We do. This one is a simple one from Jason, $2, and he says, "Who put that question mark in the teleprompter?"
Oh, damn it. I'm Ron Burgundy. Another banner show.
It is, absolutely. We're enjoying our time here. We're going to enjoy our evening. Again, if you're part of the Discord, the show, the party.
Dinner. I finished all of my steak.
Are you good? So let's just kind of source the chat as we go out. We're going to try another staple of Indianapolis. We're going to Kilroy's, and they've got the cheese bread. Apparently, it's pretty big piece of cheese bread. How much will Johnny eat? Will he finish one?
2 bites.
As the resident betting guy,
handicapper over here
in this company, the only resident betting guy in this company, James.
Where have you been? We don't even know you.
At one, you're not a real person. I will set the line at 175 breadstick over under.
Okay, so almost 2.
The over is plus 100. The under is minus 120.
I will eat at least 2. I will tell you right now, hammer the over.
He's going to have the most of anyone sitting here.
Yeah.
Well, that's what he'll tell us at the end.
I'm sorry. I like to take care of myself, and then I come here.
I'm the premier breadstick consumer
it's just like,
in Indianapolis.
Nobody better.
Yeah, nobody. Nobody does better.
I'm sorry. Everybody comes here and they like
point at them.
They like to gorge themselves and wear sweatpants, and I'm like, you know what? I just can't finish all my food, and then I get shamed for it publicly on my show. Hell no, that's not what's happening. What is happening? We're back tomorrow, same time here, live from Indianapolis. Thank you so much. Like this video, get it to 300 likes here. Keep it subscribed to PHNX Cardinals. All the content coming in on the YouTube page, on the Discord. Big time sale going on at the merchandise locker for BG, Brittan, Damon, and Shane. We will see you mañana. Peace.
We all silly like the mayor.